In this video I am going to show you how I was able to make 68.5 points, or in other words a 274 tick trade trading the ES. And I know that if you've been following me, you hear me a lot talking about crypto, but actually I'm also trading futures, mainly ES, also so now and then stocks. And on Friday the 4th of April I had a bit of a monster trade. It's very unusual to take a trade from top to bottom from almost 300 ticks, but in this video I'm going to explain you with a bar replay what my thought process was, so that might help you guys in the future. Without further ado, I would say let's start diving in. This is just a moment of time here already in the afternoon session on Friday. So we already quite have some candles, we have some data, we have some structure to work off from. And the time you can see here is 10 past 1. That is based on New York time. And I'm just quickly gonna walk you over the chart. Don't mind all the white lines, they will come into play. And a second from now, once we start pressing on the replay button, we have this big box here. And you can see here that this is a clear SR box. You can see that we have a bounce here, and then we had a single tap here, right away bounce off. So obviously this box is support and resistance, and we need to keep that in mind, and therefore I drew it there. And also you can see here that I have two red boxes, and those boxes represent high selling volume. So in this candle right here, in exactly these two levels, there's high selling volume. Okay, with that being said, I would say let's start the replay, and I'm just going to walk you through where I entered, where I exit, and what the thought process was. So price is gonna come down, and it is going to create the low, at least for the day. That's what I thought, right here at 5,136 points, and then it is shooting up, and that is taking out the previous low right here. And after that we have very clean and nice price action, because you can see here with this white line, at least I hope it is visible for you, that it is taking out this high right here. So this is your first high, this is your second high, that is an SFP, and then price rejects. And when it is rejecting, it is coming back exactly to that point right here, and that was the low right here. So this also could have been a nice long trade, and this right here could have been a nice short trade. And then the price moves higher again, and then we have two highs, one here and one here, right in that SR flip. So let's continue the replay. It is taking out that first high. Now we still have that second high left. Then it is taken out that high as well, and you would say, okay, now the liquidity is taken, we are hitting that support and resistance box, this could be a short. However, once we are coming down, you can see that this 1 minute candle is a 2 tick, I think, SFP of this low right here. In other words, it is not a confirmed market structure shift going from higher highs and higher lows to lower highs and lower lows. So this is an SFP of this bottom. That is not a confirmed market structure shift. And guess what happens? Price comes up again. Then it fills completely that box, and it picks up pretty much all the volume that was there. And you can also see that I have a fib here. This is the 0.5 on the fib retracement, and we have London low, and this is on the 1 minute, guys. So price is hitting here this London low, and it is closing the candles underneath or right at that 0.5. Well, if you've been trading futures, then you know that the 0.5 fib is a very important level. You can draw it over all kinds of swings, and you would see that it's being hit a lot of times. And this is measured from this absolute high right here all the way to this low, back to that 0.5. And you can see that it's holding up very nicely, and then we are finally seeing a very strong retracement. And this is a 10-point retracement. That is a lot. You have to imagine this is full-on tariff war, crazy shit going on in the stock market. Everyone's going to zero, they're going to die, and it's the end. So therefore you see huge swings in the future market. And to give you a little bit of perspective, you can have somewhere between a 50 to 100 tick trade, and that will be enough for the day. And if you then see one candle like this, and that is already 46 ticks, well, like I said, that could be almost the minimum already to get by. So this is just in 1 minute candle. That is absolutely insane. And in normal market conditions, we do approximately 1% from the absolute daily high to daily low. And look at this, only this swing here was already 1.5% over a time span of 44 minutes. And of course the total move from the top to the bottom was way higher. And then you can see that with this big candle right here, there was a lot of selling volume in there. There was so much aggressive selling. And then we're seeing this green candle, and this is also a bit of a trick. You can see that this candle is coming up exactly to the 0.5, a golden pocket, and that is that red candle right here, and then it's dumping down. This is where I got into the trade, because the idea was the 0.5 is holding up. We are tapping into that London low. We have been trying to pierce through that high selling volume, and eventually we rejected. And also all the liquidity from all of these highs that was being created is now taken. So now we need to dump, and the first target is this low right here. I do not want to see an SFP again and then to go higher. If that would have happened, I would have closed the trade immediately, because then you're just going into some kind of zigzag period. We have SFP, then you're going to the highs again, and then you go to the lows again. You don't want to be caught up in that. You just want to see a quick and swift move down. Therefore also during the line, that for me was very important. Are we going to SFP this low, or are we going to get lower? Let me actually also right away also make this a little bit fatter so that it is easier for you guys to see. Now of course we went lower, if else I would have never had such a big trade, but you can see that here initially actually price wanted to SFP that low, and I also started to move my stop loss, which was just above here. Start to move that a little bit more to the downside. We still had this FEG, that is that box that you see here, and then it just moved it a little bit just in case we would suddenly bounce up very hard, because hey, if we're going down 10 or 11 points on these candles, we can also bounce that up again. So you need to be careful here with stop loss. And then of course you can see this candle right here, and that was a close underneath. That was actually very nice. That for me was a confirmation that we're very likely still on the right track. And then we have two more candles closing underneath that level. Great. That for me was a confirmation to move the stop loss to this high right here. And now of course I already had quite a nice trade. That was this area right here, because if we're now going up, we're probably going to take out this high, this high, this high, probably fill in that FEG and maybe even higher. I don't want to wait for that. I want to take my profit. So from this moment on, the stop loss is right here above these highs, 5,181. And then you can see that price is actually just puking, because if we're taking out this low, there's only another low underneath right here that is at and around 5,150. So I was just actually waiting for that to be taken out. If we would SFP's these lows, of course I would have closed the trade. And it almost looks like we're actually doing it. You can see these two lows right here. Then price is making a hammer or a doji. It is closing above one of the lows. The second candle goes up. This is the moment I also aggressively start to move my stop loss way lower to secure more profits. I'm not sure, but I think it was or above this high or above this high. I actually think it was right here at 5,164, and I just let price do its thing, because hey, nothing goes up and down in a straight line, just zigzag. And I thought, well, maybe we were just coming up once to take out these highs right here into that FEG and then to roll over. So I wanted to give it some breathing room. Well, it was actually not necessary, because you can see here the next candle, boom, another full 8 points down, 8.75 points, and that again was for me the confirmation. Now we should not close above these lows. They're now taken, they're broken. The bulls tried to SFP it, it was not possible. Move the stop loss here, and you can already see this is becoming quite the runner. Now I'm going to move the speed up a little bit more, and you can see here that this was the low that was created in the entire session. So that was the low of day, and you can also see that we broke that level, very convincing. Also 8 points down. Then we had a candle underneath, and then all of a sudden we had one candle up of 7 points. And I think at this time I also moved my stop loss maybe above these highs, but I'm not 100% sure. Maybe it was also still here. I just wanted to see the reaction, and then we had one more candle down, and then we had another candle down, and that closed underneath, and that for me was the sign that this is probably just the early longers that are getting wrecked right now. Well, guess what? Within 2 minutes I was right, and then price moved lower again. You have to imagine that this now already is a huge trade, because I got in right here, and therefore I have this tool in there. I got in right here, and if I'm telling you that well, about a 50 to 100 ticks trade is enough for you to get your daily result, already here we're having 100 ticks. You can see here on the right when I'm moving my cursor of that gray stuff, you can see at and around 100 ticks. So here at the low of the day we're already having more than 200 ticks. What was underneath here? Nothing. So I now move my stop loss to I think these highs, or maybe even right here to the low of day. And the idea was, well, if we have nothing underneath anymore, there's only one target left, and that is the circuit breaker. If you have never heard of something like that, that is when the stock market crashes down 7%, there is a automatic hold in trading. And that means that I think for 15 minutes the entire stock market closes, and if we go down then 10%, not an extra 10%, but from 7 to 10%, there is an even longer break. And these circuit breakers are designed to halt the trading so that everyone can step back and breathe and take the irrational price movement out of the market. So I thought, you know what, why not? We already went so low, and I already having a home run here on my hands, so why not just let it run, get to that circuit breaker. I think it was at and around 5,000 points at the time, so it's still quite the move up. But you have to imagine this is right now 2:30 in the Friday afternoon session. So my idea was, since we're already losing the low of day, I think that market participants or traders want to cover their ass. They want to close their positions, dump it all before the weekend, and then yeah, we might hit that circuit breaker. So I thought, now I am really going to aim for the stars, because I'm already having such a runner. And I think I moved my stop loss. We still need to create a big candle. Let me see. There it is. We suddenly had this huge spike up in this 1 minute candle, and just to give you an idea, this is 49 ticks. Again, from the top to the bottom, this could be a daily profit or daily result just in a 1 minute candle, and then it also completely came down. This for me was a sign to move the stop loss here, or maybe I even had it at the 0.5 of this entire candle. And then you can see here that we are close now to the 5,100 points, and then all of a sudden there's a reversal. Now, once we were creating this low right here, I have moved my stop loss, I think, to these highs, and this is where I got stopped out for this huge profit. And you can also see it here in the profit and loss tool. I think I put it exactly where it's supposed to be. Yeah, so this was a 1 to 14. That means if you put $1,000 in, $14,000 out, and the risk on this trade was very little, because I put it exactly on the top of this candle. Now, some people would say you should put it here at the wick, because that is really the top. However, the idea with this trade is I do not want to see such a strong selling volume of minus 10 points that you can see here on the top, what I explained at the beginning. I do not want to see this completely reversed. If we're going down, the bears should be stronger, the selling volumes should be higher, and it should be more aggressive selling in the market to eventually bring us lower again. So a retracement is okay, but then somewhere at that 0.5 golden pocket, maybe 78.6, that should be the end. And yes, you have wicks in this kinds of environment, but actually I do not want to see the trade going higher than the beginning of this candle right here, so the open of the candle. So therefore I had a very tight stop loss, and of course the minimum of a 122 was already reached quite fast, matter of minutes. Let me see, it was right here. So that was within the full 1 minute after I opened up the trade, so that is nice. Because there was such a strong selling volume, and after that it was just party hardy and lower. So yeah, very, very happy with the result. I do have to say that this is pretty extraordinary in the sense that you do not see such a big swing trades. Don't try to aim for these kinds of bigger moves. But now with so much going on in the market, you do have these big moves to the upside, to the downside. And looking back at it, I was of course relatively lucky that this was one clean move, because if we're looking at how we reached the bottom and then went higher, you can see that actually we had a very nice and clean higher highs and higher lows, of course, until we broke market structure. And here, where is in this move down your lower high and lower low? It's just not there. It is really just one epic move from the top to the bottom. It was not the only trade I took. I also took here a short as a back test of London low and the initial balance low and eventually lower. So this was also a trade for me. And this right here was, I believe, also a trade for me that might have stopped out for break even. But yeah, there were a couple of scalps there. And to give you an idea if this happens a lot or not, like I said, for now in this market, of these kind of market conditions, yes, it happens a lot. Let me actually speed this up. And then you can see that we're all the way at the end, so we're kind of recovering everything that almost everything that we just lost. Oh, let me stop this real quick. And then you can see also here a grinding very slowly, higher highs, higher lows on the 1 minute higher. And then here you have your break of market structure again, and also here from this top to this bottom. Super fast down. I didn't take this trade, by the way. Super fast down, and this was also a 300 tick trade, 1.5%, just in matter of minutes. I think it was 15 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was about 15 minutes. You're getting more than your daily results, so you can see how sensitive and how volatile the market is at the moment. But I just want to share this with you because, yeah, like I said, it was a bit of an epic trade. I don't want to go to the thought process of how I was managing it and not taking profits too early. And you can see that I was pretty close at shorting the top and here closing it out for a profit. And after that, actually, I just stopped the trading session. I didn't want to give any profits away. I would have been sick of it if I would have even lost 2 tiny scalps. This was just fine for me. And then I just called it a day. A little bit of a different video than usual, but I hope that you guys like it. If you do, then please guys do me a favor, like, subscribe, click on the bell, click on all so you don't miss anything. Leave me a comment, share this video with your friends if you think this is useful. See you guys very soon again in the next one. Bye bye.